We've been reporting about a widespread scam using the popular Zelle Quick Pay app to steal money from Bank of America customers. Well, now that scam is rearing up again and targeting Wells Fargo customers.
It's a money transfer alert. More victims are reaching out to the I-Team about scams preying on people using the popular money transfer tool, Zelle.
Tonight, investigative reporter Brian New exposing how these scammers go from a simple text message to your wallet in minutes.
As banks and fintech companies find ways to make banking easier and more convenient for consumers and businesses, fraudsters will always step in and find a way to take advantage of it. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Infamous Ghost Money, and in this video, we're going to take a look into what person-to-person, aka P2P fraud is. We're going to review some real cases involving P2P fraud to see the variations in which it's pulled off. And of course, we're going to look into some simple things you could do to defend against it. So as always, if you find value in the video, don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel to catch more of my content on financial fraud and how to stay one step ahead of these fraudsters. Alright, let's get right into the information. So what is P2P fraud? P2P fraud, put simply, is when fraudsters take advantage of apps and services such as Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal to assist in stealing money from others. P2P fraud is preferred by many fraudsters because it's quick, easy, and can allow them to cash out with minimal issues once they gain access to the account. P2P fraud is pretty basic as far as what is needed, but what makes it interesting is the variations in which it's pulled off. The first thing fraudsters need to pull off P2P fraud is access to the account that they are attempting to steal money from, and this could be attained in a variety of ways, such as an account takeover where a fraudster gets access to login credentials and is able to log in and have their way with the account, or online phishing, which is when fraudsters manipulate victims into thinking they are entering their login credentials on a legit site that looks just like their bank login, when in reality it's a phony web page made to steal their information. And finally, social engineering, which is the one I find the most creative and has been catching plenty of victims in the past few years. Social engineering, as it relates to P2P fraud, is when fraudsters trick people into thinking they are speaking with their actual banks and get them to transfer money willingly or give up information that is needed for the fraudster to initiate a transfer or gain access to an account. Now, once the scammer has the first step completed, the next thing they will need is an account to receive the stolen money that of course will not trace back to themselves. This is very important because these apps and services are tied directly to the bank account, so it will be game over for the fraudster once the victim who got their money stolen finds out that they've been tricked. So similarly to the first step, this could be accomplished through a variety of means, such as creating accounts in the name of synthetic identities or using information obtained through identity theft schemes to open accounts in the names of other individuals to receive the illicit funds. They could also use a good old money mule, which is an individual who don't give a fuck and is fully aware they're receiving dirty money but does it for a cut of the proceeds. A money mule can also be someone who has no idea they're receiving dirty money but is tricked by someone they trust into receiving the dough and withdrawing it on their behalf. And finally, many rookie-level fraudsters who are eager for fast money will have the money sent directly to their own accounts, which just takes stupidity to the next level, if you ask me. Once all this is in place, they could proceed to steal thousands of dollars on a daily basis within seconds like it's nothing. But in order to fully understand how these scams are pulled off by fraudsters, let's take a brief look into some interesting cases involving Zelle fraud. Wednesday, December 4th, 2019, Kishore Babu Amasetti was sentenced to 28 months in prison for bank fraud. And yo, this guy was very clever with how he did his thing. Amasetti would use Facebook Marketplace and other social media sites to get in contact with people who advertise items for sale or rooms for rent. Once he would find a victim, he would get their name, address, and get them to give up their bank information, such as which bank they were with and their account number, under the guise that he was going to make a manual deposit into their bank account for the item or room rental. After he obtained this information, according to his sentencing documents, he will call the victim's bank claims department, pretending to be the individual, and state he attempted to make a deposit at the ATM and the machine didn't credit his account properly. When making these calls, oftentimes he would state the amount that the ATM didn't credit him was 10 times the amount he was said to pay the victim for the item or room rental. For example, if an item was $200, he would tell the bank the ATM didn't credit him for $2,000. The bank would then proceed to provide the account a provisional credit while they investigated the matter, and Amicetti would get back in contact with the victim and claim the provisional credit they were seeing in their account was a deposit error from himself, and he would request them to send the money back via Zelle, which they would do immediately. Once they transferred the money, the victim's bank would eventually get in contact with them, letting them know that their claim was denied and they would reverse the provisional credit. So using that same $2,000 example, when it was all said and done, the account holder would be left holding the bag for $4,000. Sheesh. He would do this scheme to approximately 500 people and successfully steal over $860,000 in about 1 year. The case paperwork shares the stories of many of these victims, mentioning the pain this scam put them through and the impact it had on them financially. Another interesting case involving P2P fraud is about a fraud ring led by Traquan Smith of Virginia. According to the indictment filed on December 13, 2021, Smith and his goonies would run an elaborate scheme that involved so much lying, I felt like roaring. You see what I did there? First, they would pose as lovely ladies on Tinder looking for romantic relations and target United States Navy sailors. Once they found them a good John, they would lie to them and say they needed their assistance in getting money to help a family member. And I guess these poor sailors was blinded by love because they were all the way willing to help out. Next, Smith and his goonies would pose as Navy Federal Credit Union employees over the phone and contact account holders claiming they had fraudulent charges on their accounts. They would manipulate these victims into giving up their online login information to dispute the charges, when in reality, they were logging into their accounts to send thousands of dollars directly to the victims that they lied to on Tinder. Once the money was successfully transferred to the John, they would have him withdraw the cash directly from his own bank account in the form of cash or a money order, and they would meet up with the females of the ring and hand over the cash in person. Of course, similar to the first scheme, once the bank caught on to the fraud, the account holders who knowingly gave up their information had to take the L, as well as the love-hungry sailors who accepted the cash and handed it over to the fraudsters. Smith and his posse would run this scheme from April 2020 until he was arrested on October 2021 and impacted 25 U.S. Navy members while stealing over $370,000. Now that we have an idea of how some of these schemes are pulled off and the impacts that it had on the victims, it is important you are aware how to defend against it, especially considering the chances of you getting your money back when it comes to P2P fraud are very slim. Looking directly at the Zelle website, they lay it out clearly which scenarios a customer may get reimbursed for. These are situations when a customer had nothing to do with giving up their online information and they legitimately had their accounts taken over without their own assistance in making it happen. If you were impacted in this way, immediately contact your bank and dispute the transactions. Now, on the other hand, unfortunately, if you played a part in getting your information exposed, similar to the above cases, even if you were tricked, you still gave your information to a third party, or you still authorized to receive and or withdraw the dirty money. If this is the case, you will be liable for the loss, even if you were tricked. So the best way to defend against P2P fraud is to simply not give your online login information to anyone over the phone, even if the number calling you appears to be directly from your bank. It is so easy for scammers to mask their true telephone numbers nowadays, so relying on your caller ID is not enough. And listen to me, people, your bank will never call you asking for your username and password. And your bank will never call you to transfer money through Zelle or any other P2P service. If you are ever in doubt about who you are speaking to, call the number on the back of your credit or your debit card or the number that you find on your bank statement. Do not simply redial the number. Or you could visit the bank in person if that's an option. And if you get this call during the time when the bank is closed, use your online banking to review your account to confirm if any fraud charges are actually showing up. Fraudsters use social engineering to play on people's fear and get them to do things without thinking it out thoroughly. This is why I need y'all to spread the message of my channel, because despite how common we all may think these scams are, people are clearly getting impacted by it every day. Facts. But with that being said, that's the video on P2P fraud. Leave a comment if you or anyone you know has ever been impacted by a method like this, or your opinion on how these P2P fraudsters did their thing. Also, if you found value in the video or you were entertained, remember to hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel to catch more of my content on financial fraud and how to stay one step ahead of these fraudsters. Alright, peace.